Greetings and good morning. Welcome. So buying a home, getting married, having a baby, changing careers, retiring. These are exciting times, but they can be stressful times. These aren't just milestones. They're financial turning points, major turning points potentially in your life. And if you don't plan for them, they can derail your future. But if you do plan, they can be stepping stones to at least financial security and less anxiety. So why life events overall should include financial planning? As we said, these life events, they come with joy, happiness, excitement, but they also come with a price tag. And if you're not ready, just like the mayhem advertisements, these moments can turn into stress, debt, and long-term financial setbacks. But with the right plan, you can be in control and not scrambling around at the last minute. Life events, both those predictable and unpredictable, can shift your spending, your savings, your investing. Financial planning ahead of time gives a little bit more structure, clarity, and hopefully a peace of mind. So be proactive, not reactive to these life changes. Anticipate the change is more powerful than reacting to it. So what are some of the most common life events to plan for? Marriage or divorce, having or adopting a child, buying a home, starting or changing a career, an illness or a disability, retirement, the death of a spouse or a parent, and launching a business. All of these come with a variety of stressors that if you can plan for, prepare for, you can be ready for. With your marriages and divorces, you're going to be either combining or dividing your finances and legal documents around all of that. Children, you've got health care, you've got child care, education, buying a home, you've got the mortgage, you've got the insurance, you've got maintenance, you've got a down payment. Changing a career, starting a career, your income shifts, benefits, moving costs, an investment in your education and your skills to progress in your career or your new career. An illness or a disability, those medical costs, that's one of the number one drivers of financial ruin, if not in the world, at least in the United States. Medical costs, time off work, insurance claims, paperwork, and all the hurdles to try to get you back on your feet. Retirement, you're going to start withdrawing from your savings instead of putting money in. You're going to have lifestyle. You're going to have to re-budget. Social Security, you're going to be having a new strategy for that. You're not going to be depositing anymore. You're going to be withdrawing from it. The death of a spouse or a parent, that's on top of the emotional roller coaster you're going to be going through. You've got all the finances of that person to go through, estate issues, hopefully wills, trusts. Remember we talked about those in a previous, addressing those, finding who the executor of the will is. If not, you need to talk with your family member now and have them designate someone for that. And then disposition of assets. If your parent dies and it's the last parent you have, getting rid of any property of theirs, because obviously they have a home or an apartment. You're going to have to sell, move, store, all that equipment. And launching a business is exciting, but stressful. So capital, where's the money coming from? How's your cash flow? Your employees, how are you taking care of them if you have any? Of course, taxes, the legal structure framework of your business. So planning as far in advance as you can for these will reduce, won't take away your stress. I'm not saying that at all, but it will help relieve the stress and kind of give you a set of milestones to look for on this new path. So questions to ask as you're going through or preparing for these life decisions. What is the total cost of whatever is going on? Both upfront and long-term costs. Obviously, the relocation costs for example, the relocation costs for a new job. But then if you're buying a new home, you got to go back to the maintenance costs. I mean, some of these, they could be combined. If you are moving back home because one of your parents died and now you have to take care of the other one, preparing for all of those contingencies, talking with the proper financial and legal experts, understanding how these changes will affect your monthly income, your monthly cash flow, your investing portfolio. Remember the 50-30-20? You may have to adjust some of that for the short term to meet your obligations, meet the requirements of whatever the situation is. Adjusting insurance, savings, investments, moving things around so some of your assets are more liquid and ready to go when these times happen. Taking some of your assets, your investments, cashing them out and having cash stored away. It's not earning you the level of dividend and compound interest that you want for long term, but you need it for the short term. Again, as I mentioned, legal advice, financial advice, tax advice, go find a professional, help you on your journey. It's worth the money up front to get that stuff going, to understand and have somebody in your corner that is familiar with the process. And then what's your backup plan? What's your emergency funds look like? I mean, go back and watch the video. We talked about that, having that emergency fund if your financial plans for your life change don't go as expected. And for those of us who've been around a while, it never goes as expected. So be ready with those backup plans and even a backup to a backup. Step-by-step guide. I will kind of just give you an outline. I mean, this isn't hard and fast. Again, talk to a professional, but a general step-by-step guide to planning for these events. As we talked about, anticipate the event. Even if both your parents are perfectly healthy and they're living an active lifestyle, talk with them. What's the plan for if and when one of them passes? If and when both of them passes? Well, who's the executor of their will? What's their estate planning? What's their will look like? Do they have a trust? What's going on with all that? Research and educate. I mean, that's across the board for anything in your life, but research and educate yourself on all of this. Timeline. So if you have a knowledge of when this event, so for example, you're having a child or adopting a child. Okay, when does that adoption process start? When do you get the joy of bringing them home? Start that timeline. Start understanding what those educational costs are going to be. If they're a baby, you've got the diapers, you've got the formula, you've got potentially nanny services, childcare services for the foreseeable future until they're of school age. Get that timeline down. Get as much concrete. Go back again. Research and educate yourself on what it means to have a child, and what milestones to look for in that joyful but stressful process. And then a dedicated budget for that process. again, a dedicated budget for having a child, a dedicated budget for if a parent passes or a spouse passes, a dedicated budget for if you move or start a new career. Each one is a dedicated budget. Kind of create a document and have multiple documents that kind of give you a step-by-step budget that you can outline. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, but get an idea of what your savings are going to look like and how everything's going to work. Back to your emergency fund. Adjust it. Prepare for those expenses. Hopefully by now you've got that 3 to 6 months. Again, hopefully closer to 6 months. You've been preparing in advance. Maybe start pushing a little more into that emergency fund, or as we've talked about previously, create a dedicated savings account for this event. Hopefully you're planning a year or more out for this, but maybe some cases you're not. But start a separate fund, savings account dedicated to this. Still kind of keep your emergency fund at 3 to 6 months range. Closer to 6 months is recommended, and all the extra money that you can spare, put that in this dedicated savings account for this life event, especially if it's one that you can plan for. Obviously, emergency events, the death of a spouse, the death of a loved one, a parent, that's not something you can really save enough for. But understanding what you need to be looking for in the event that happens. Review all your legal documentation, insurance if you have it. I know we discussed insurance in a previous topic. Understanding what the will is. Make sure if it's you and your spouse, you have a will, a living will. Again, talk to your legal professionals, talk to your tax professionals, estate lawyer. Make sure that any lawyers or professionals you go to are targeted toward have a specialty in whatever you're looking for: wills, trusts, estate planning. Just the financial advisor, your tax professionals, understand what those changes are going to be in your life. Various tools you can use for these major events. I would probably lean more toward the professionals. I mean, there's online resources, calculators, budgeting apps. Your employer probably has a service to help you plan for this stuff. Legal services, there's online services to do your wills and trusts, prenuptial agreements, financial advisors, different planners you can find. But again, I would lean toward recommending a professional and not trying to do everything yourself. Get an idea before you go to the professional. You and your partner sit down, or if it's just you, sit down, kind of work out a budget on any life events that are coming up, and have that ready when you schedule with your professional, so they can kind of go through and understand what you're looking at, what you understand, and then maybe they can add some layers for you to kind of get a better grasp on. Common mistakes. I mean, these are probably going to be fairly common sense. Underestimating the full cost of the event. That's going to happen, especially for childcare. Get a good grasp on your area. It varies across the country, across the world, so understand what that's going to cost you. Forgetting to adjust your budget or your lifestyle. I mean, if you're going from being just a single couple, having the exciting life of traveling and bar hopping and partying, and now you have a child, well, certain parts of that lifestyle, that budget are going to have to change. It'll be a beautiful change. Having raised children myself, it is a change, but it's beautiful. It's wonderful to experience it. The other common mistake, communication, failure to communicate with your partner, failure to communicate with your family, your parents, your children. If you are an aging parent and your children are, getting on up there and old enough to understand that you might be the parent that passes away, talk to your children. Talk to all your family, your cousins, your uncles, your aunts. Understand what support you will or won't have. Understand what financial assets you have available. Don't hide too much from them for these events. Let them know who your estate planner is, who your wills are with. Don't rely solely on credit cards or loans. We talked about get your emergency fund, build that up, do a targeted savings account for this. And if a professional gives you advice, it's best to heed that advice. This is going to be a stressful time. You're gonna be feeling some kind of way. So I recommend doing your research first on the professionals so that when you go to them, you are comfortable and it isn't like a last minute, hey, Google, where's the nearest tax professional or the nearest estate planner. Do your research now. Start that research now for anything. Start your research for care services for your children, child care. Find out what's the best, what is within your budget, what do you need to look for. Start that research now, have that document ready to go for when that child gets here. Don't be waiting for the last minute. So for this week, your call to action, if you have a life event coming up, plan that now. This weekend, sit down, you and your partner, you and your family, if it's a family level event that you need to plan for. Talk to your parents if they're aged parents. Sit down, talk with them. Get this understanding of what to look for, because this is going to be a fork in the road for you, for you, your family, your life. And your money needs to be able to follow you down this path. Your financial assets, your comfort level needs to be able to follow you down this path. So plan. I won't say avoid stress. This is going to be stressful. I mean, it's going to be joyful in some cases, as I said, with a child, with a new job, starting a job, moving to a new job. There's going to be excitement, but there's going to be stress. Just accept that portion. What we're looking for here is to mitigate that stress, reduce that stress. I mean, a plan will help you reduce the worry, the last minute stress, the confusion of what you need to do next in your process. What milestone do you need to look for next? Have that written out. Start a document on your computer. Get on there. Hey, we're expecting a child. We're planning to have a child. Even if you're in the planning process, if nobody's pregnant yet, but you want to have one, go ahead. Sit down with your spouse and say, hey, let's get this out. Let's figure out what we need to plan for, because there's a lot with raising a child, and so much of the other aspects of these changes that we've talked about in life. So start planning today. That's your call to action. Get out there, start a plan, write it out, review it again, have you and your partner review it, invite a family member that you want in on this process to review it. Go ahead, if you know, like for having a child, start a dedicated savings account. I mean, that's kind of the excitement that the saving for the child savings account, or having a baby savings account. I mean, name it that. A lot of your banking institutions, you can name the account, having a baby savings account. That excitement that you're putting money toward having a baby. Talk to a professional, run the numbers. Getting ahead of this now will make loads of a difference down the road. So if you have something you want to share, maybe you've been through this process, you've done some of this already for something you're expecting, share it below. Let us know what you did, how it worked, things that you would change. Give recommendations to everybody else in here in the community. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.